Is the ing form of the verb functioning as a noun? The ing form of the verb functioning as a noun. For instance, praying is what I love most. Praying is what I love most. So praying in this sentence is a gerund, and it is doing the work of a noun in that it is occupying the space of a subject. We know that most English sentences begin with a subject, right? So now that the gerund is occupying that space, it is functioning as a what? As a noun, as a noun. So that, then use of correlative conjunctions, use of correlative conjunctions. These are conjunctions that come in pairs, neither nor, not only but also, no sooner than, etc. Then we have idioms and idiomatic expressions, tested in 2018. Phrasal verbs. When you're handling phrasal verbs, you have to be very keen on tense. You have to be very keen on tense. You can also be tested on tense, where you fill in the gap with the most appropriate word, and you ensure that the tense agrees with the subject. The tense of the verb agrees with the subject. Then pronouns, we have personal, reflexive, demonstrative. But then I've seen students having a challenge here. Students cannot identify the subjective case and the objective case. The subjective case of the pronoun is where the pronoun is functioning as the doer of the action mentioned in the verb. For instance, he goes to school. In this sentence, he is in the subjective case because he is the one that is performing the action of going to school. Are we together? I gave her a banana. I gave her a banana. In this sentence, I is the subject, gave is the verb, her is the object because her is the one that is receiving the action stated in the verb. And the action stated in the verb is gave. So she's the receiver of that action. Then, of course, there is word choice. You're given words and you're supposed to choose the most appropriate. Position of adverbs in sentences. We know that a sentence, the meaning of a sentence can change depending on where the adverb is. Depending on where the adverb is. So students should be in a position to handle that. Then prepositions, use of prepositions, and then meanings of sentences. Meanings of sentences. I don't know whether we do that when then they ask questions, because poetry is bad. It's the same paper that we had shared, the 2018. I want you to share for me 2018. So meanwhile, we would like to share the 2018 paper, poetry, so that we go through it, because this is something that has really been, difficult for our students, so that they see how it's done. K.C.S.E 2018. 2018. Check 2018. 2018. Yeah. Just type here 2018. I think it is this one. I think so. See what it is. Yes. So read the following poem and then answer the questions that follow. The man he killed. The man he killed. I will recite it. So listen. Had he and I but met by some old ancient inn, we would have sat us down to wet right many a nipperkin, but ranged as infantry and staring face to face, I shot at him as he at me and killed him in his place. I shot him dead because he was my foe. Just so. My foe, of course, he was. That's clear enough. Although he thought he'd list, perhaps, offhand, just like I was out of work, had sold his trucks. No other reason why. Yes. Quaint and curious war is. You shoot a fellow down, you'd treat if met where any bar is, or help to half a crown. And that is the end of that poem. We recite it again. I told you to love it. Love it. One thing you need to know is that this one used Old English, because there's some words that you find that are not in the English dictionary. Some words like nipperkin and quaint. And this proved difficult for students. It was a difficult poem for students. Now, in such a poem, you may not even know what the subject matter is. This is now where summary comes in. This is where summary comes in. You decide to summarize the main ideas that are taking place in this poem. Are we together? Now, for instance, so had he and I but met. You know, the persona is saying, if I and he had met by some old ancient inn, if we had met in a restaurant, you know, an inn is a restaurant. So if I and he had met in a restaurant, we would have sat down together and taken a drink. Nipperkin is alcohol, okay? We would have taken a drink together. But then we met under different circumstances. We met at war. And therefore, because we met at war, I shot at him as he tried to shoot at me, and I killed him on the spot. Huh? That is stanza 2. Then stanza 3, I shot him dead because, you know, it's as if the persona is trying to convince himself that he had reasons for killing this person. Look at the way he approaches the poem. From the beginning, it's the man he killed. He is reflecting on what he did. That's why I told you it is important to read the title. It gives you a clue. If I and he had met in different circumstances, maybe in a restaurant, we would have sat down and taken a drink together. But then the circumstances under which we met were very different. We met at war. And because we met at war, I killed him before he killed me. Then the persona is asking himself, why did I kill him? So he's giving himself reasons, right? He's giving himself reasons. That I shot him because, look at that dash. Because punctuation marks are very important in poetry. That dash is making us see that he's having doubts. You know, he doesn't have a real reason for killing him. That is why he says, I shot him because he was my foe. He's convincing himself that he was his enemy. A foe is an enemy. Just so, my foe, my enemy. Of course he was. You see the way he's trying to convince himself? Yes. So that he can accept that what he did was not a crime, maybe. Because in war, you kill people that you would otherwise not have killed. People who are not your enemies, but are enemies of the country you are fighting for, right? Mm-hmm. And that is the convincing that he's trying to do. And he says, that's clear enough, that is enough. But then, this doubt does not leave him. Doubt as to whether what he did was the correct thing, or whether, you know, he should have done it. Although, maybe this guy that I killed thought he'd enlist, you know, list is enlisting, you know, going and saying that I want to fight in this war. Perhaps offhand, like me. He says he enrolled to fight in this war in a very casual way. He just sold his straps, means that he's a what? A hunter, right? Who has straps? Hunters, right? So he sold his straps and decided to enroll in war. Go and fight. Go and fight. He didn't have any other reason. So he goes to fight a war whose purpose he does not know, simply because he has enlisted to participate in it. And he concludes by telling us, yes, quaint and curious war is. That war is strange. It is weird. It is odd. Because in war, you shoot someone that you wouldn't shoot at any other time. That during war, you even kill someone that if you met in a bar, you would share a drink with. Have you understood the point? Have you seen how it is very easy? Yes? Now you go, you give the main message that is brought out in the poem. You give the main message that is brought out. And that is exactly what we have done in this poem. So you're asked, explain what this poem is about. I have just explained in summary what the poem is about. But somebody else may decide to say the poem is about the futility, the uselessness of war. That is the main message, by the way. Right? And to illustrate this, you say that you kill someone for no reason. Someone that if you met in different circumstances, you would share a drink with. That now serves as your illustration. If you decide to go the thematic way. Okay? The futility, the uselessness of war. That is the main thing. Your illustration that during war, you kill someone that you would otherwise become friendly with under different circumstances. The other approach is to give a summary the way I have done. Are we together? Then there is B. Any two stylistic devices that are used in this point. There are stylistic devices that we came up with that I know maybe we do not have. One, the rest are stylistic devices that you people have. But these ones I felt we need to share. I felt that we need to share. I can remove the phone. Thank you. Number one. So stylistic devices, look at the marks allocated. Those are 6 marks. And you've been told to give how many? Just 2. So how is the distribution of those marks? There's one for identification, another mark for illustration, and another mark for the effect of that stylistic device. The examiner does not even need to tell you, give us the effect. You're told to identify and explain. So you identify, you illustrate, and you show the effect of that stylistic device. Nowadays, previously in paper 2, we never used to accept sound patterns, but nowadays sound patterns are B-marked. So you can give rhyme if it is there, okay? If there's rhyme, give it. Like in this poem, there's a lot of rhyme. Let me just scroll so that you see. Look at the rhyming words that we have there. We have met and wet. We have in and nipperkin. We have infantry. No, infantry is not rhyming, but we have face and place, right? We have infantry and me, infantry, EE. Are we there? Yes. Then we have because and was. We have for and although, right? So it has a lot of rhyme in it. There are so many rhyming words. Remember, in rhyming, you have to pair your words. You have to pair your words. You have to show this rhymes with this. It is not the work of the examiner to start now looking for, what is rhyming with what. It is your work as a student to write it very clearly. Then after you've given the illustration for rhyme, what is the purpose of rhyme in this poem? Give the poem rhythm. tick. So you already have 3 marks, right? One, rhyme. The other mark is at? Illustration. And the other mark is at? The use. To give the poem rhythm, you know, you score for that. You score for that. Or make the poem musical, etc. Then there is repetition. Repetition. In the second stanza, no, not the second stanza, but the third stanza. I shot him dead because. Can you see the repetition of because there in the other line? Yes, that's repetition. And what is the purpose of this? To bring out the persona's puzzlement. He's puzzled. He can't explain why he killed someone. He doubts his reasons for killing. So that because serves that purpose. There is irony. The persona kills a man, but does not hate him. How do you kill a man you don't hate? Or you kill someone for no apparent reason? That is very ironical. Then the reason for this, to bring out, or the effect, to show the futility of war, or the uselessness of war. Then there is alliteration. I'm telling you, sound patterns are accepted. So write them if you see them in poetry. Don't think that they are only meant for paper 1. Even in paper 2. Even in paper 2. And in alliteration, you must underline the alliterating word. You must underline it. Not the word, but the sound. The consonant sound, okay? That is alliterating. So here we have head, he. Look at the first line, head and he, the H sound. Then there is direct address, the use of you. You shoot a fellow, you, direct address. You shoot a fellow, the you, underline the you. That is direct address. Then there is assonance. I killed him in his place, the E sound. Underline that sound, the vowel. I killed him in his place, underline that vowel sound. In the second stanza, the last line. There is now the new one, elision stroke clipping. Elision. Elision is E-L-I-S-I-O-N. Elision stroke clipping. Clipping is C-L-I-P-P-I-N-G. And the word that has been clipped here is list. He'd list. This is 1, 2, 3, stanza 4. Stanza 4. He thought he'd list. You see that apostrophe there? Then the word list. That word is supposed to be enlist. But the poet decides to write list. And this is to bring out the class the persona belongs to bring out the class of the persona. Or also to bring out the register that the persona is using. And another reason for clipping is to create rhythm, Now the last one that I felt was important is the use of archaic words, or what we call colloquial. Archaic words, A-R-C-H-A-I-C. Stroke colloquial. Colloquial is C-O-L-L-O-Q-U-I-A-L. Or simple language. Am I too fast? No. Okay. So these colloquial words are words such as nipperkin. Let me scroll so that you see nipperkin. There it is. Write many a nipperkin. That word there. And another one is quaint. Yes, quaint and curious. War is that quaint. So the main purpose of this is to show the setting or the period in time, the setting or the period in time. And it is also meant to bring out the register that the persona is using. To bring out the register that the persona is using. So with that, I think I come to the end of my presentation. Now it's time for you to ask any questions that you have from the different sections that we have looked at. I don't have a pen. Assist me with Mumbuni girls. So would you see? You link them. So far, assist me with that. So speak. Okay, Mumbuni girls, ask your question.
Hello.
Yes.
So I have a question on poetry.
Yes.
I'm Purity Moyanga from Mumbuni Girls. I have a question on poetry. The poem that you just read, we had done it in class, The Man He Killed. Then when you're looking at question D, it is asking us to describe the tone of this poem.
Yes.
So as I was reading the poem, I realized that there are two tones. There's one towards there's one of the persona towards the subject matter, the man that he killed, and there's also the one that is towards the war now, how like the war subjects him to killing a person that if they had met in different circumstances, he would otherwise befriend. So there was a critical tone that is towards the war, and then there's a piteous tone towards the man that he killed. So like when the question there, it's 3 marks. So like when I decide to conclude on my tone, which one will I like put it out? Like which one should come out strongly?
Okay. Another question. Kitulu Day boarding. Kitulu. Kitulu. Okay, Katoloni. Katoloni.
Yes, my question was about question number 2 about the excerpt. I was asking if you are told to give characteristics of a certain character, and then you are not specified to in the question what if to ask from there to get it from the excerpt, not from any part of the novel. Now, what do we go about it? And then the second question is about the meaning of, like in compressions, when you're told to give meaning of, like in the last questions, you're told to give the meaning of certain words. When you give the dictionary meaning, is there any penalty? Thank you.
Chambuko.
Thank you. My question is concerning about the comprehension. When you are writing on the rough copy, do you cancel like we do in Kiswahili writing the nakala chafu? My question is on
Chenny Baptist.
When you are writing the poetry question,
Chenny Baptist, we can't hear you. Mua Farm.
is about asking when you're answering poetry question, is it a miles?
one person at a time. Do not unmute your mic unless you are told by the presenter to answer the question or to ask your question.
My
So
question
now let's
is
go to
about
Muvuti
when you
girls.
are answering the question and the
Jenny,
exact question,
put
is
off
it
your
a
mic.
must to answer complete sentences?
Sorry? Ask your question again.
Question is about when you are answering the poetry question and the exact question, is it a must to answer in complete sentences?
Okay. Put off your mic. Put off your mic right now. Okay, Muvuti girls. Okay, we respond to those first. Yeah.
So I begin with the first question about tone. You look at the central tone in the poem. And the central tone here is a critical tone. From the beginning of the poem till the end, the persona does not see any use in people fighting. So from stanza 1 to the last stanza, even as he takes pity on the man that he killed, he is still criticizing war and its effects. So it's a critical tone, just one tone, the one that runs throughout the poem is the one that you write. Now about allocation of marks, because you know, the person that has set the exam knows that most students cannot identify this tone. Just highlighting that this is a critical tone will score 2 marks. So for just saying critical tone, you get 2 marks and you get 1 mark for the illustration. Then there's a question about the excerpt where you're told to give character traits and the examiner is not specific about the characters that are in that passage. Now, why would the examiner ask you to give the character traits of, unless if they want you to give character traits of that character in another excerpt, then they will tell that to you. If you're told to give the character traits, it means that they are the character traits of the characters that are in that particular passage. If they want you to give character traits from elsewhere, they will tell you, give the character traits of Resian as portrayed elsewhere in the novel. Now there, you will be free to give those character traits from other parts of the novel. Then in summary writing, of course, you need to cancel that draft that you do not want the examiner to mark. Only leave out that which the examiner must mark. I want to emphasize that adhere to the number of words given. If it's in about 50 words, do up to 55. In not more than 40, do up to word number 40. And write the number of words that you have used. Then I began this lecture by saying that you give your answers using complete sentences, because a complete sentence communicates a complete idea. If you give half a sentence or an incomplete sentence, then you will not be in a position to communicate fully. And the intention of this paper is that you communicate. Thank you.
Okay, go on. Who has the next question? Kataloni, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. My question is about in question 2 about the excerpt. For example, you have given you and we are told that you write the excerpt in immediate form, but you are not sure of what happened before, or you doubt yourself, but you are sure of what happened after. How can you advise me now?
Okay, K.C.S.E, go ahead.
Okay, when answering poetry and you have been told maybe to find the title of the poem, can you use the theme obtained from the poem?
Repeat your question.
In poetry, maybe you have been told to answer the title of the, maybe you have been told to determine the title of the poem. So can you use the theme obtained from the poem to answer the title?
Okay.